Now, I realize that sometimes I come on here and a lot of my intended audience does not necessarily appreciate or like the message that I'm attempting to deliver. Sometimes that can be because of a slightly condescending approach. Maybe that comes from the arrogance of believing that I'm always right. And that can be. And so sometimes I understand that. But sometimes I also deliver it in that way because I know and feel that the way I'm thinking and the message I'm trying to express is the truth. And as a result, sometimes the truth hurts. So, yeah, you can look at my approach sometimes at some things, but other times I feel like the audience and the intended recipients of my message could open their horizons, expand their horizons, take their blinders off, and try to attempt to see the bigger picture. Because that's what I'm always about as much as possible, is being about the bigger picture. Now, I understand when I'm talking to an internet wrestling fan base that there are certain things, by and large, that stereotypically are true about the internet wrestling community. Like a certain type of worker, a certain type of style, and that's about it. Not much of a love or respect for big muscle-bound guys or slower style matches, and you know what? That's fine. It's what you like. It's what you like. There's nothing wrong with liking that. I think there may be something wrong with only liking that, but there's nothing wrong with liking that on its own. So when I come on here, like I said, I understand that sometimes I try to look at things from a big picture perspective, and that's not always most well received, and that is what it is. So it doesn't surprise me that there was a lot of anger and outrage and angst in the IWC and on the dirt sheets and everything about the fact that Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards still haven't been signed by WWE to the NXT territory, in part because Triple H is one of the biggest opponents, only because he feels that they have too many smaller guys, too many indie style guys, and as a result, they're starting to water down the product, and they need to focus maybe on getting some bigger guys and getting some larger than life personalities. And you know what? In this context, Triple H, if this is true, is 100% correct, and I fully agree with him. Look, what I don't understand about professional wrestling is where everything else has gotten, in terms of sports anyways, has gotten bigger, faster, stronger. Wrestling has gotten smaller and weaker. As everything else is evolving this way, it's almost like there's a regression in the evolution. There's a devolution, if you will, a digression down to smaller and weaker. And I've never really understood that. Why that is. Is it because people that are getting into the wrestling business now, they get into it because they wanted to be athletes, but they were too small for this or too slow for that or not strong enough for this, and wrestling was their way, and there you go? And that could be possibly it. We could still be feeling the long-term effects of what Tough Enough did to the wrestling business and the backyard wrestling federations have done to the professional wrestling business, what have you. But I understand when people hear that, they get mad because people like CM Punk and Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler and so on and so forth, they think that's a slight against them. I don't think it necessarily has to be a slight against them. What it is, though, is it is focusing on something that is very important to me. I'm always a big believer in making your guys as unique as possible, making everyone stand out on their own in some way, shape, or form compared to the next guy and the next guy and the next guy. I think you could do that with smaller guys and with bigger guys, but you have too much of one or too much of the other. Everybody else is going to kind of blend in, and everybody's going to kind of be the same. Let me ask you this. If you have 10 Kelly Kellys and then you put Awesome Kong at the end of the line, who are you going to notice? If you have Big Show, Kane, Undertaker, Mark Henry, and then you put Daniel Bryan or CM Punk at the end of that line, all these other guys are big and huge. The first guy you're probably actually going to notice is the smaller guy. So this emphasis and this focus on maybe trying to get bigger and focusing a little bit more on the larger guys and the larger-than-life personalities as opposed to just the indie-style worker that focuses on physical matches and that's about it, I don't necessarily disagree with, because I think it's good for the overall product, it's good for the overall business, because it'll give these smaller guys more of a chance to stand out when they're facing off with bigger guys. Like, look, when Ryback came into the main event scene and he's feuding against somebody like CM Punk, it allows Ryback to stand out a lot more because he's much bigger than CM Punk, much stronger than CM Punk, whereas CM Punk is smaller, quicker, lighter, better in the ring, all of this other stuff. So I know a lot of internet fans get very upset whenever there's a talk about getting away from smaller guys and focusing on larger guys and larger-than-life characters. But in this case, I completely agree with it. You don't have to do anything bad to CM Punk or Daniel Bryan, because frankly, they're good enough, well-rounded, all-around performers, not just ring stuff, but all-around performers, where they've earned their spot in the WWE. And they belong near the top in today's WWE. Guys like that, traditionally, though, do not draw the biggest money. No matter how much you might like it or not, the fact of the matter is it's true. The best way to get those guys to be able to draw the maximum amount of money they possibly can is to put them in there with some bigger guys, some bigger personalities, some larger-than-life characters. So WWE, I'm with you on this. Enough with the small guys for the time being. Focus on some big ones.